So in my last video, I shared with you how to create your live meetings for your class in two different ways. In this one, I'm going to show you how to use that screen share tool, as well as how to use different interactive features during your live sessions. So I'm really excited about this because I haven't gotten to use it a whole lot with my kids. And I really think it's going to be a game changer in the fall. School for me starts in like a week and a half, so we'll see how it goes. But I really hope this helps others as well. So I'm going to start this by creating a live meeting on my computer, sorry. And I am going to join using a test student on my other computer. So it might take a minute to connect them. I'm actually going to hit the X because I want to be able to see the full screen. So I'm going to click join with the other student. This is never use two computers at once. See? I'm learning. Okay. So I am logged in as a student. And so I have one student. Unfortunately, I don't have any other piece of technology, so I can't really show you like the pin and all of the other features from the video previously. So what I'm going to show you though, you have this share content button. This is where you can share to present different presentations that you have. This is where you can go in to share things on your desktop. I highly encourage you to have everything off your desktop except for anything you're going to use for class, just because when you do screen share things off of your desktop, your students will be able to see it. Like for example, my background on my computer is Baby Yoda, and so all my kids got to see that in the spring, and it was a lovely time. So screen share, and you have different options. Now on screen share, you have this thing called Microsoft Whiteboard. I don't know if it worked very well for other people, but I found this to be very clunky, and it did not work at all because the border that I saw on Whiteboard, like for example, I would write like one of my students' names on the top and the left and one on the top and the right. But on my student screen, they couldn't see those names. They got cut off. So their border was like a different size than mine. So me trying to write on it, I wasn't sure where on the screen they could see, and it just did not work out. I really didn't. I liked the idea of it, but it just didn't quite work out. So maybe it'll be fixed during this feature, but I found a better way to use Whiteboard versus using this Whiteboard. So I'll share that in a minute. You do have this option here. You have just PowerPoint option. I will say that if you open up a PowerPoint through here, these are usually PowerPoints that are in your files. You can also browse and upload it from your OneDrive, a PowerPoint. These will be in presentation mode only though. So if you share one of these, it doesn't matter if it's editable, it will always show up as a presentation. So if it's just a presentation, then I would use these. They seem to embed in Teams better, and you can also see your students at once. There are perks to sharing off your window and desktop, but the bad thing is that if you share off your windows and desktop, you do not get to see your students. You'll have to connect two computers or do some kind of like, well, yeah, I know you can't do split screen. I tried that too. Can't do split screen. So you basically have to have two computers. On one computer, use that to see your students, and on the other computer, use that to present. But it's kind of a give and take. If you don't only have one computer or one monitor, it doesn't have to be two computers. It could be two monitors. You could also use your phone. So you could log in using your phone, and you could see the students on your phone or a tablet. And then on your computer, you can use your computer to present. Now, there is one flaw to this interactive feature I'm going to show you. If you or your students are using an Apple product, this does not seem to work at all, pretty much, using Apple products. So they do need to be Windows products. There may be some kind of workaround when it comes to Apple products, but I have an iPad that I've been testing on and it does not work. So just as a heads up. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to show you a presentation. It's pretty simple. You just click on it. It's going to present in the screen and you'll be able to see your students in little small icons at the bottom. I don't usually share in a desktop unless I'm going to maneuver between two things. So if I have, like, for example, if I have a game in Internet Explorer and then I have a PowerPoint and I want to do both of them within the same live session, I would probably click desktop so I can go between both of them. But if there's only going to be one file I'm going to use, I would share from my window. So I'm actually going to go to a PowerPoint I created. And I'm going to share this, and my student's going to be able to share it, see it on their screen so they can see it. So right now you can see that this is just a regular PowerPoint. This is actually one I bought off Teachers Pay Teachers. So I'm actually utilizing that. But I also created two other editable sections. I created what I like to use for whiteboard. So I actually made this for two people. This is me, EG is my initials, AD, my students' initials. Normally I would just put their name so they know where they're going to be, where they're going to write, but because of privacy issues, I'm just going to use initials. And then I use these little bears from my previous one to show you kind of like an activity you can do with your students involving teaching them how to do lines. Now keep in mind, by screen sharing and giving control to your students, you do have to teach these tools to them. So just like you would in class, it needs to be very specific so you can teach them. So I'm going to show you this first one. For example, I can move these teddy bears. They're just images. Actually, this is a Teachers Pay Teachers one, but you can create this pretty easily at home, on your own in PowerPoint. You can create some kind of a background or some kind of words, your learning goal. You can have a word problem, type it in with text, have a little square text box, and then find some kind of image to put in here for your manipulatives. This one used teddy bears. So I think it's really cool. My students can see that I'm moving these teddy bears on their screen. So if I want to do something where I'm just sharing what I'm doing, that works. But if I want them to be able to take control of my screen, what I can do is I can scroll my little mouse all the way to the top of my screen, and a give control taskbar will appear. I'm actually going to pin this so that way it doesn't keep going away. I want this to stay here so I can give control and take it back frequently. So what I can do is I can click give control and click on my student's name, or you can click on several students, because watch what's going to happen. That student now has control. So that student can move a mouse, and if you see, my mouse has my initials next to it. My student's mouse has their initials next to it. If I had another student, I would be able to see their initials. So I can see what everybody is doing on this screen, anybody I've given control to. So let's say I have another student, but I did not give control to them. They will not be able to move any of this. So you can give and take control. So if I don't want this student to have control anymore, I just click cancel control and they automatically cannot move anything. They have no access to this PowerPoint at all. So watch what happens with this student. They can click on these bears and they can move them. They can click in the box and they can type their answers here. Okay, if you teach them, they can also go up here to draw and then click a pen and they can write the answers, especially if they have a tablet and they can just write with their fingers, but they can write. You do need to teach them, though, that they have to click the select tool again in order to move their teddy bears again. So they can move. I can go over and I can start moving. Okay, but keep in mind, the more students, the more lagging you're going to see too. So sometimes it's just beneficial to have one student at a time. Now here's where the whiteboard comes into play. So let's say I want to say, okay, I want everybody to make the number 0 for me inside their whiteboard box. So I can make a number 0, whereas my student can make a number 0. They could even change the color if they wanted and make a number 0, okay? You can also teach the students how to draw lines. So they go to Insert, Shape, Line. And what they're going to do is you teach them to drag, and they can match up their teddy bears. So the student can go over here, and he can insert, shape, line, match up their teddy bears. Okay, so there's 3 different tools. I'm actually going to stop presenting and show you something else. Actually, I'm going to take control next. Cancel control. That means my student's gone. They cannot do anything. I'm going to stop presenting because now I'm going to present something else on my screen. Like I said, you can do this. You can share just your desktop and you can go between 2 different things. But if you didn't want to do that, you didn't have to. I can also play a game with my students. So I can click this birthday candle counting game on ABC Off. I can start. Okay. I can do that. Or I can say, or I could say, no, so-and-so, can you please go ahead and click on the candles and then select the correct number? So now that student can go 2, 3, 4. And they can click. Then I can cancel their control and I could give it the control to somebody else for the next one. Okay, so these are just a couple of examples. You can use anything. You can use, I'm going to stop presenting now. You can use Microsoft Word. You can use, as far as I'm aware, most any game sites. Like I said, I think the easiest way to do that, though, is through PowerPoint. You can create so many different things in PowerPoint. If you want the background not to be movable, definitely make sure you save the background as an image and then add that as a background. Then they can't move the background. They can only move the pieces. But really kind of everything's kind of like your oyster. It's whatever you choose to create within whatever program, as long as, like I said, Apple products don't really seem to work very well with screen share, with giving control with screen share. You can screen share, but giving control is like a whole nother beast. One other tip also, when you share control, let's see, when you share control and you want students to be able to hear things, like, for example, I could hear that birthday candle game, but what you need to remember, what I forget every single time, is that you need to click include computer sound before you share something. Because if you don't include computer sound, the students cannot hear anything. They won't be able to hear videos. They won't be able to hear games. They won't be able to hear anything that comes from your computer. So always make sure that you click that before you go and you share something. I always forget it, just like I forgot there. I always forget to click that, and I always have to stop sharing and go back and do it all over again. So maybe put a sticky note. I probably need to do that to remind yourself to include your computer sound. So those are just kind of like the basics, some tips and tricks for screen sharing. I think it's awesome to be able to give access to your students, so that way you can kind of see what they're doing and see how much they're grasping your lesson. You can also embed like PowerPoints. Let's say you have a worksheet and you can add that, add that page as a background. Maybe in another video I'll show you how to do that. Add that as a background, and then they can write on top of it just like they would a worksheet in class. So hopefully that helps you a lot to kind of see the benefits of Microsoft Teams Live. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Thanks.